So, if you actually care about improving, getting better when it comes to sales, how do you know whether it's something that you did versus just a pain in the ass prospect? Let's dive into it today. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. I have a very interesting story from yesterday, but if you guys are brand new to this channel, my name is Starr, and I'm kind of just documenting the entire process of running a sales team, doing outbound, scaling teams and systems, and help a lot of people when it comes to sales training, closing, scaling, the whole shebang, right? And it's very fun for me, and I like get to talk about everything that I learned here on my channel to give value to everybody that is watching. And so yesterday I was needed on a follow-up call for one of my reps, and he told me something very interesting, right? And he's like, hey, I need you to come talk to this individual. And now one thing we have with our high ticket programs is we like to reward action takers, right? So to help shorten the time that we can go and collect revenue rather than being an entirely long sales process, we incentivize people to take action. Now, if you've been in sales, you probably have heard of this before, right? If somebody's willing to take action within a certain amount of time, they get rewarded, right, with a better deal. This incentive is designed to reward people who are action takers. And what's interesting about this is that you guys have probably also heard this, right? Where people say, well, our best clients are the ones who see it, get it, they take action right away, right? And what's interesting is that is actually very true. So we went back to all of our craziest case studies and our biggest winners that are in our programs, and every single one of them literally took action right away, like short, right? They like boom, right? They're like, all right, let's do this. No time to wait, no procrastination, and they always become our biggest case studies. And someone on our team was literally like, after a year of being with us, he's like, I thought about it, and you're right. Every single person that has actually like taken action and gone like paid in full and taken advantage of the incentive, he's like, they're always the ones that are killing it, versus the people that I have to spend 2 months, 3 months, and 6 months, right, following up with and chasing after. They move forward way later, but they also move slowly. They not only move slow making a decision, but they move slow when it comes to getting results. And I remember looking at him and be like, well, yeah, I wasn't just pulling that out of my ass. Literally, the people who take action, of course, are going to take action whenever it comes to actually implementing it, and always be your best case studies, right? So I was needed on a follow-up call, and this individual had told my rep that, hey, just so you know, I want the incentive-based price no matter what. And so he told me this, and I was like, okay, well, the incentive it only lasts for 72 hours. It's a 72-hour incentive. When did you speak to this individual? And he's like, oh, well, I spoke to him back in April. And I'm like, okay, April, May, June. Okay, yesterday was like June 1st, so now we're into June. I'm like, so it's been 2 months. And he's like, yeah, it's been 2 months. I'm like, okay, well, did you tell him that we can't do that? And he goes, no, I didn't really elaborate on that. I was like, okay, well, you didn't elaborate on it. I'll do, you know what? If he's had the time, I'll do right by the prospect, and if he can make a decision right away, maybe we can honor the incentive. But we normally don't do that because I want to respect the integrity of every other person that moved forward, that did get in the incentive versus people who did not and are still winning and getting results, right? So we hop on the call, we go through this whole process, everything's going completely fine, right? And we get to the end of the call, and then all of a sudden the prospect throws a 180 at me, right? And then says that he wants to wait another 30 days to go and execute on XYZ. Now, what's interesting is I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, wait a second. Why would you need 30 days to go do this? That's exactly what we're going to be helping you to do, right? And you may find yourself in this situation a lot, right? Where sometimes it's this crazy belief that a lot of prospects have, like whatever it is your product and service is, where they're like, oh, well, I can't be successful at your program until I have this in place, right? It's kind of like when people say, well, oh, I want to go work out in the gym and I want to start losing weight, but before I go and work out with you, I want to lose my first 5 pounds. Right? Like logically, it doesn't make sense. People go through this phase. I don't know what it is in terms of like a crazy limiting belief of people who just never will take action. They're just inaction takers, and they just feel like they need this, this, and this in order to be successful, right? But what's funny is the specific thing that the prospect needed is exactly what we can literally. So instead of him spending 30 days going to do it, it's like, dude, we can, instead of you going in and trying to figure that stuff out on your own, that's literally what we're going to help you go and do, right? Like that's the thing that we're going to be able to go and execute right away. So I knew, I was like, I could save this guy 30 days. Like, who cares? He doesn't need to go and get that account back. He can literally just start from scratch, right? And so he literally thought that he couldn't be successful. And then so I was like, okay, cool. So fine, no worries. Like, if you really wanted to have 30 days, completely fine. And then he said, but I want it for the incentive price. And I was like, hey, sir, respectfully, unfortunately, I'm willing to honor the incentive now only because my rep didn't really harp on it before in the past and say that, hey, this isn't only a 72-hour thing, but if you're willing to make a decision within the next 72 hours, I'm willing to honor that. Now, then he's like, well, no, like I told your rep before. So basically he stacked a frame on me. He's like, as I told your rep before, back in April, I'm not doing anything unless it is for this amount, right? Now, the incentive price, so everybody here is watching, is not the actual price of the program. The program is valued at X, right? So the incentive is a slight discount just to make it a better deal, right? If they get rewarded. Now, so I told him, I'm like, that tells me that he doesn't see the actual value of the program being at X. Like, maybe he just doesn't think it's going to go and get results. And then I was like, listen, if it's a matter of like the results not being there, we have tons of case studies and stuff to back it up, and people that are in your shoes that did not have the account you're looking for, that were able to start their account from scratch and still go and get results within their first month. And then, he told me that this is where it gets really interesting. I was kind of thrown from a loop. Now, for those that have been following my channel a while, if you guys know my past, I served 6 years in the military, right? I was active duty Air Force for 6 years. And one of the biggest things that they talked about in the Air Force was your rules, right? And rule number one was always integrity first, right? Drilled into us in the Air Force. Integrity first, no matter what, no matter the situation, no matter whether anyone is looking or not looking. It's one thing that I harp on is honesty and integrity. That's like one of my biggest core values. So the biggest low blow for me personally, you can talk crap about me. You can call me names. You can talk about my family, right? But the biggest low blow is if you attack my integrity. So this individual then said, if you can't honor this and give me this much time, then you have no integrity, right? And I'm not going to lie to you, it stunk, right? I was like really kind of taken back of how did we go from a complete 180, and then all of a sudden this prospect was just pouring, scarcity mindset out of nowhere. And which is weird because most prospects who you guys talk to, they'll be talking about how, well, everything's great, I'm already comfortable and I'm already successful and yada yada, and then you go into the conversation and it's like, well, I'm not getting enough clients, and you're like, well, that's weird. You just said that everything's great, you're comfortable, but you're not having any clients. I don't understand. How are they making money and how is everything comfortable? And then all of a sudden they go to straight scarcity mode towards the end, right? It's something internal going on in the beliefs of their character and identity. And if you guys follow the channel, I talk about character and identity a lot. So, literally hit me with the, if you don't do this, you lack integrity. And I was like, sir, how do I not lack integrity if I'm willing to actually honor the incentive now when it was offered back in April? I'm doing right by you only because my representative did not stress the importance of like, that cannot happen because he didn't tell you that. I'm willing to honor that for you today. Right. And then I brought up our case studies, and then he goes to round two, which was talking about how our case studies, who he reached out to, weren't getting back to him. Right. He's like, so I reached out to this one case study, and they said they can only do text message, and they wouldn't hop on the phone with me. And another one I reached out to, like, just didn't even respond to me. And I'm literally sitting there thinking, okay, sir, you realize our case studies are busy literally running their business, right? I can't expect them, and I'm not going to ask them to go and prioritize and hop on the phone for people that reached out to them just as much as if you were one of our case studies. I wouldn't expect that of you, right? Our case studies that do talk to people do it because they love working with us and they love the results that they have and et cetera, right? And so just pouring scarcity. And by that point, I knew from the red flags, I was like, okay, this is not somebody. I had to stop and think, and I was like, okay, let's just push everything aside. right? Do I want to take the time, like really reframing all this and putting forth this time, effort, and energy, or is this really worth being somebody to work with, regardless of whether he gets in on the incentive price 30 days from now, right? And the answer to that was absolutely not, right? And the reason why I want to bring this up is because at the end, my sales rep was just kind of also stunned and taken back as well, and was just like, well, I mean, what do we do in those situations, and how do we handle if that happens? And I remember telling him, like, there's really nothing that you can do in those cases, and you have to be able to understand the difference between is it you or is it them, right? Because there's a lot of cases when it comes to growing and getting better when it comes to sales, and you always want to obsess over getting better and improving, right? But there's only so much you can go and improve. You have to be able to tell the difference between the situations of, okay, can I improve in these situations? Yeah, by doing things like keeping your cool, right? Don't be confrontation with them. Don't argue. Don't call them names. Like, none of that stuff, right? Like, being able to keep your cool in the situation. And by the end, we had the call, literally just said, hey, cool, listen, no worries. I wish you the best. If anything changes in the future, please let us know, right? What else can you do? And so definitely handled it correctly. But here's what's interesting. So that night we had the coaching call with our clients, and amazing wins for the week, right? So our clients are like absolutely killing it. And one of our clients, big wins for the week, was talking about how he had a prospect and he just hired this a new COO, which is a young individual, about 24 years old, who's a rock star, and the CEO got bad vibes from one of their prospects. And he's like, and they just didn't align with his core values and his vision. So they actually, instead of following up, just said they canceled it, right? They were interested, they were going to pay, and then they just said, hey, I spoke to my COO, and we just don't feel like it would make sense to work together. Now, you may be watching this thinking, well, why in the heck is that why would that be a big win? Well, you know how hard it is for a company and an individual to stick to their core values and not have a scarcity mindset about money, right? Very, very difficult. So that is an absolutely huge win, because most people would be like, oh, I mean, I have to have this capital. I need this money. Let's just say yes to it, regardless of whether they agree to their core values. So, we're commending him and saying, congratulations, that is a huge win. Most people would never have the courage to be able to say no and turn away money and stick to their values as a company. And not having a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset means you're going to go way far beyond anything else, right? So then I remembered the prospect that I had earlier in the conversation, and I actually brought it up to our clients. I was like, yeah, you guys would never believe what happened to me today. And I told them, and two of the people that the prospect was talking about that wouldn't quote unquote hop on the phone with him were like, wait a second, was it this person? And I said, yes. And she goes, I never told him that I wouldn't hop on the phone with him. I just said that I was super busy this week and I would need a week before I can actually go and hop on the phone to him. But in the meantime, I could text, right? Now, here's what's interesting. The prospect didn't say it that way. The prospect literally said that she wouldn't even hop on the phone with me, that she would only text, right? But the context of what she said to him was that, hey, just give me a week. Give me a week and I would happily hop on the phone. Now, so I want you guys, the reason why I wanted to bring this up and the lesson here is because it's a prospect thing, right? The identity of the prospect is scarcity mindset, going to be needy, right? Thinks that everything like is owed to this individual when everybody else out there who are outside the incentive completely see the value of the actual like program, right? And if you're watching this and you're in sales or you have your own business, you're going to run into this, right? You're going to run into people that are like that. And I can say from experience that it's just not worth it, right? Just not worth it. Literally went back to our team and said, hey, let's just, I thought about it. We reviewed everything. And then afterwards he was, texting people on the team and asking for, stuff to be deleted and from the recording, which we record everything in terms for our sales process, and also CYA, which stands for cover your ass, right? If anything's ever overpromised, right? Company policy, we must record everything. He's like, oh, well, I want this deleted and want that. It was just being a nightmare. And so I was like, hey, let's just add them to the blacklist, right? It's not worth it. I don't care if they want to move forward in the future. I don't care how much money they offer us. Not worth it, right? And it was a good lesson for my team as well to understand that, hey, there are going to be certain situations where you're going to have to be able to, even if it's a low blow, right? Even if they're attacking your character as an individual, you must still stay professional, and as hard as it is, do the right thing and just wish them the best. And do your best not to be confrontational, and understand it is not you, it is them. Like, you are going to run into people who are just genuinely a pain in the ass that you're not going to want to work with, right? And that's okay. It's a numbers game. Just as much when it comes to sales, that think about pure volume. If I'm talking to 100 people, and I know out of 100 people, there's going to be someone who's amazing that's going to be to work with out of 100. If you believe that in law of averages, then you must also believe the opposite, right? Out of 100 people, you're going to find people who are an absolute nightmare in mindset, that would be an absolute pain in the ass to work with, regardless of whether they want to pay you money, right? Law of averages. Both sides of the spectrum are going to be there in terms of per 100 people, right? And really not letting it affect your state and your character and your beliefs. Like, now, am I over it now? Of course, right? I'm not going to lie to you. Yesterday, I was really irritated. I was really irritated by it, and I kind of started to question. I was like, do you, even me as a human being, just ask people like, do you think I lack integrity for that, for not being able to do it? And everyone's like, absolutely not. You're the most integrity person that I've ever met. And, you always do right by the prospects and stuff. And even had some people review the call, and they're like, man, that guy was just such an asshole. And I was like, okay, cool. Right. Because, as humans, I think it's very easy for us to question, even when people say stuff like sometimes, maybe you're in a relationship, and some people just say like, you're worthless and you're worth nothing. Right. And deep down that that's not true. But when people kind of say that, and they throw it into existence, and they slap you with it, and they put that frame on you, like, you are worthless, right? You are nothing. And deep down, you start to question it, right? You're like, wait a second, am I worthless? Like, am I nothing? And I'm here to tell you that if you're ever in a situation like that with a prospect, just know that it's not true. Right? It's normal human behavior for you to second guess, and to be frustrated, and to obsess over, well, how can I improve in sales? How can I get better? But it's very, very important for you to be able to dictate the difference between, okay, was this a me thing, or was this a them thing? And if it is a them thing because of their character, their identity traits, and just where they are at, do not let that dictate your personality, your personal values, and affect you moving forward into other sales conversations, right? Talking to other people, and thinking that you did something wrong in that case, when in fact it is actually them. You're going to run into those. I hope that this lesson was valuable and impactful to you. If you've ever been in a similar situation like this, maybe you've dealt with a pain in the butt prospect, let me know the story below in the comments. Share with me what happened. Make sure, if you guys find this valuable, that you are liked and subscribed to the channel for when I post more videos just like this one, teaching things on sales, and also sharing with you the journey of what's happening right now as we literally test new things out and try new tactics and new strategies. I'm going to be sharing everything here live on the channel and documenting the entire process. Love you guys. Thank you guys so much for following me on this journey, and I will see you guys on the next video.